Right, the breaking news is an update from Manchester United, and we're told they plan to hold further talks with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick before deciding on who to make their interim head coach. And Sky Sports News has been told there could be a role for both in this new setup. The director of football is Jason Wilcox. He's had initial informal conversations with the former players yesterday, now both of whom, it's thought, are keen on being involved again with the first team. However, Manchester United do have other candidates they are considering for a role until the end of the season. This is interesting. That includes Ruud van Nistelrooy, who you'll remember bridged the gap when Erik ten Hag was sacked in October 2024 before Ruben Amorim took charge the following month. So it looks like they're going to make a short-term appointment until the end of the season. That's to give them some breathing space to focus on a permanent appointment in the summer when more elite coaches are likely to be available. So Oliver Glasner, Marco Silva, Andoni Iraola, they all see their current contracts expire at the end of the season. You've also got to remember Thomas Tuchel, Julian Nagelsmann, Mauricio Pochettino. They could be available once their international commitments are complete at the World Cup. Now, no meetings have been planned with Carrick and Solskjaer for today, with all the focus on Darren Fletcher's first game in charge of the team at Burnley tonight. But it's expected those discussions will accelerate later in the week. All right, so that news just into us from Manchester United. Right, good morning to Darren McAntony. Is that news just into us? Well, it looks like it's going to be an interim coach until the end of the season. I was going to ask you which one out of Fletcher, Carrick and Solskjaer, but I guess I better throw in Van Nistelrooy as well. Which one would be best suited?
None are real sexy options, are they? A lot have kind of been there, not done that. It's about being safe. I suppose they go Solskjaer. Ollie's at the wheel again, so they'll probably do that. See how they get on tonight. To give Fletch a bit of time, a couple of games. We know how good he's doing with their academy. So I wouldn't rush the process. It's not like they're going to be winning the title. It's not like they're getting relegated.
So, yeah, but they could get Champions League football, which would be big for Manchester. You don't think they will?
No, I don't think so. Not with I think Newcastle will come strong in the second half of the season. Liverpool will sew up one of the spots. Then you got Villa, Arsenal and Man City. So no, it's unlikely in my opinion.
They're only 3 points off fourth, and fifth might be. They're actually level on points with fifth, and that might be enough.
And look, at the end of the day, miracles can happen, but I don't see it happening this season.
What goes through your mind as an owner at a time like this when you're thinking about making an appointment, interim, permanent, what have you? What goes through your mind?
Slow things down. Try and get a little bit of slow motion going on because people can panic and make bad decisions, and that's the worst thing as an owner you can do in football because you can listen to the fans, you can hear the media, never mind owning Man United and what it's like where we're talking about it 24 hours a day, but you got to slow the process down to make the right decision because I believe the last decision they made regards to their manager Amorim was the wrong decision. So take your time. They've got a decent enough squad. They'll probably have a good finish this season, a lot better than last year from, where they were last year. And they've got a lot of good young players. So take your time with this.
So you agree with interim for now, it would appear?
Yeah, absolutely. With what's available? Yeah, look, I don't want to upset other clubs or, if I were a Palace, I'd be trying to get that contract of Glasner signed up very quickly. He's a very attractive proposition. Who else is out there? Obviously Tuchel. I don't think he's going to do great with England at the World Cup, just my personal opinion. So he's a world-class manager. But the one you'll say is that people like Tuchel and some of the other names you've mentioned, they ain't going to take a head coach title. They're going to be called manager of Manchester United.
And do you think that will put people off?
Yeah, I understand the whole
Still
head
Manchester
coach.
United.
Yeah, I get that. But you're talking about managers who've managed already clubs the size of that or bigger, with all due respect to Man United. So look, at the end of the day, world-class coach. If Jurgen Klopp was available right now and he said to Man United, I'll come into the end of the season, do you think he'd allow them to call him head coach? Do you think they would say to him, well, we're not going to have you, Jurgen, because we want a head coach? They'd fall over themselves to sign a manager of that quality. So,
do you think for the right manager, they would change their structure?
I think they'd change.
As an owner, you would know that.
I'm not saying the structure necessarily, but the title definitely would be manager over head coach. That's just my opinion. I think we get caught up on all of that, and a lot of these younger managers who are trying to prove a point and come into a club that size will get called chief bottle washer if it means they get the job. Then they start winning, and then it all changes, as we saw with Maresca.
Well, is that what happened with Amorim as well? I mean, he didn't start winning trophies or anything like that, but form did improve from the start of the season.
Yeah, it improved. They were better this season, but he's still been an absolutely terrible manager of Man United. If you look at his win record, the style of football, The thing that frustrates me with him as a manager is his stubbornness to not move away from his formation. I get his formation is back three, and he's been successful at Sporting, and he's done all these things historically, but all great managers, you know, have the ability to change with the times and change formations. And to pigeonhole yourself with that one formation and not for changing, that's a problem for me. So I can understand the frustration of the sporting director at Man United sitting with him and going, you know, we did try a back four recently. It went okay. You know, we've got a lot of good players. We don't always have to. And this is my formation. This is how I want to recruit. This is the only way I'm going to play. You have to be open-minded in football. Things move fast. You know, the best managers in the world know that. So that disappointed me with Amorim. I watched Man United a lot. That's not Manchester United when you watch play. It's not exciting. So if you own that club, you're looking at all those elements. You're looking at his behaviour in the press conference where he's obviously had enough himself. Like Maresca, I think he wanted out. And he's used the press to facilitate his departure.
It was only 5 days ago, it was Friday, that we haven't asked you the same question about Maresca. If Amorim had said those things about you and the people just behind, just below you, but above him, would you have sacked him?
But when my staff start talking through the press to me, it's message received. And it's like end of the line. Because I'm one of those people, just say what you mean and mean what you say. And be direct about it. And I'm very transparent. So I'd rather, if you're upset with me, as a manager, head coach, whatever you are, just tell me. I've no problem. I like a good ruck. I never hold grudges. You know, I've had rucks with managers over the years and we still work together the next day. It's not a drama for me. But don't do it through the press. Don't try and run the football club through the local media or through interviews and try and, you know, subliminal messages to me. And I just felt Maresca, with his comments about the lack of support, then you're watching Amorim go on about, I'm not the head coach, I'm the manager of Manchester United, and the sporting directors need to do their jobs. It's obviously what that was all about. He wanted out, like with all due respect. So, okay, be man enough to, instead of go to the press, go to the director of football and go, after your row, this isn't going to work anymore. Write me a cheque and I'm out of here. That's it.
Well, he did say that he said, I'll be leaving in 18 months when my contract's up as well, didn't he?
Again, he was using the press to get paid off early. I guarantee
not a new contract?
I guarantee if we could check his wife's Google history, you would have seen probably properties abroad somewhere or back home in Portugal.
Right.
Guaranteed, before that press conference either.
I mean, we won't be doing that. We won't be
Of course,
that,
I'm sorry, yeah.
I see what you mean.
But yeah, you get what I mean. I'm just saying it was pre-orchestrated, and that was a manager. The way he went through that press conference and reacted is somebody who did not want to be there.
Right, let's get stuck into Manchester United, shall we, Bradley? Sorry, we're going to have to talk about your team. They are looking for candidates for the interim manager position. We know that Darren Fletcher is going to take charge tonight, James Green, at Turf Moor for the trip to Burnley. What about some other contenders, other names in the frame on an interim basis?
Well, if you look at this morning's sports pages, on the back of most pages, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is there. He is one that Sky Sports News understands has spoken to the club about a potential return. Darren Fletcher, as you mentioned, he's taking charge tonight. He's likely to be in place for the weekend's FA Cup game against Brighton, as well as another name, and Michael Carrick too, who spent a short stint in the Man United dugout after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked back in 2021. It's so interesting with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, this going full circle. Remember, he came second with Manchester United 2020, 2021. And I remember at the time he apologised to fans for coming second. How much would those fans and Bradley like second place right now? But that's the situation where we're at. Jason Wilcox, Director of Football, is leading the charge on this. But the ultimate decision will be sanctioned by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. They are looking at an interim replacement, but they're not ruling out a permanent candidate if the right candidate comes forward. So, again, one to watch. But Ollie is certainly looking like the man to return, certainly for the foreseeable until the end of the season.
However, Dan, Manchester United are only 3 points behind Liverpool in a Champions League place. I get it. There will be all sorts of options potentially which they will look at, and maybe even some other names like Unai Emery. Who knows? You know, Glasner out of contract. Andone.
I think the actual form, believe it or not, looking at the table and the points, was actually on the up under Ruben Amorim. I don't think the football was great. I think the system was still too rigid. I know he changed it a couple of weeks ago in Newcastle, and then he went back, and then the subs, and yeah, very strange. But I think Darren Fletcher is obviously a club legend. He's been there, he knows the club. I think he's going to win the fans straight away. I think he's going to win the players. They're going to go straight to a back four it's almost 100% guaranteed for me. They'll go back to what he did. He brought energy, brought enthusiasm. He'll pick those players that represent him and the club in the best way. So I expect them to have an upturn in form straight away, just like it did when Ruud took over, just like when Ollie took over the first time. That will happen again with Fletcher. The difficult one is they have an upturn in form. They go, OK, Fletcher's ready. Give him the job, give him full reins, and that's what they've done with Ollie. And then obviously it didn't obviously end amazingly, but we'll see what happens.
I think with Darren Fletcher, the feeling inside Manchester United is he is someone for the future, but perhaps right now is a little bit too soon for him in terms of the permanent role.
Let's bring in Bradley Tooth and let's get our teeth stuck into this. Manchester United, come on, Brad, talk to me.
You haven't heard that before, have you?
No, never heard that one before. That's original.
Come on, Darren Fletcher. I mean, he loves the football club. He's got 2 kids in the first team. Everyone else seems to have had a crack already in terms of your Michael Carricks, you know, your Giggs, your Solskjaer's interim before he got it on a full-time basis. Why not Darren?
I think it's a little bit too soon to have him as a full-time permanent manager. I think everyone knows at the club that he's kind of being groomed to one day be closer to the first team or be first team boss. But, you know, ultimately we need somebody who's going to give us